Welcome to your next moon cycle. Here you will see the entire next cycle for our lunar moon, and she is starting on July 5th and going through August 3rd will be her next cycle. At Sovereign Temples, we believe that we can live a much more harmonious and balanced life when we honor cycles of light and dark and also allow ourselves to align with seasons versus this idea that Monday through Friday, no matter what time of year it is, you should always be go, 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 and maybe get some time off on a 2-day weekend. But if you're feeling depleted, doesn't matter, you should work. And when you're feeling energized, doesn't matter if it's the weekend, you should rest. No, that is a Gregorian calendar that is artificial, and that is what the Matrix wants humanity to stay on so that it can stay disassociated. So if you'll see here, this is a Synodic calendar. However, this also honors the Gregorian day so that you can, still easily be able to make plans with the rest of humanity who hasn't caught up to the multidimensional timeline of nature. That's the way to live, by nature. So I just want to, think about, there's so many times, I want you to think about your calendar, like when you're feeling a certain way and you say yes to something. I don't know about you, if you've ever had this experience where you're feeling really energized and good, and someone asks you if you want to do something, or it's a creative project, or it's planning something, and because of the energy that you're operating currently in, you're like, yes. And then it rolls around and you're like, holy Hannah, I wish I didn't commit myself to that. What you'll realize if you start following a synodic cycle is our bodies are made up of what? Salt, water. What is the moon influencing? As a former ICU in a trauma hospital nurse, I assure you there was a difference of full moon based on behavior and events taking place. You can talk to police officers, you can talk to psychiatrists, people in just different types of services where they have a lot of clients that they deal with. And there is a difference in terms of what the behavior at a mass level consciousness is taking place, right? And so it's like, okay, well, we know the moon is influencing us. Well, emotion, it's the feminine, right? It's related to the emotions. And then we also, in the Northern Hemisphere, have this insane idea that it would be a great idea right after winter solstice, when, our bodies are literally being designed to rest and sleep and hibernate, to make your big goals for the entire year, make all these resolutions and get into action. It's insane. Our bodies are made up of the minerals of earth. What are the minerals influenced by? The sun, the season, the heat, how much light, how much dark. And so it's like when you begin to start allowing yourself to be in tune to nature's cycles of light and dark, everything will begin to shift for you. You'll start to be able to identify your personal energy patterns based on when you notice, based on like a synodic cycle. So a synodic cycle is always going to go from dark moon to dark moon. It will always start on a dark moon. Now, I looked high and low for a calendar that started this way. And I was like, there's got to be something out there. I really want to live my life based on the cycles of the moon. And follow, that be the first day of quote unquote a month for me, the first day of the moon. And there wasn't anything. So I created it, and I loved it so much. And, other people that I'm really on a mission now to help bring it to humanity, because people are finding it to be so empowering because they're beginning to track personal energy patterns. So an example would be, let's say it is the 21st and I am feeling it's in Capricorn. I'm all goal oriented, success oriented. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make plans to, do something with someone that asks me and it goes with like success or business goals, and like, well, hey, do you want to do it on August 3rd? And like, if I'm not in tune with my energy patterns because I'm feeling so lit at that moment of being asked, and I say yes to it, and, I schedule it, but then the 3rd of August comes and I'm really depleted, I know for me, when the face of the moon that you'll see in the bottom left of our Synodic calendar, and we're bringing these every single month. We're going to show you guys what the next Synodic cycle will be. So every month of the moon, I will say, not of the Gregorian date, but every single moon, we're going to have this discussion for what's happening. So you can also see it laid out in a calendar format versus just when the moon's doing what based on a regular, Gregorian calendar. So you will easily be able to begin to identify your patterns. And I know on the face day of the moon, when it's about anywhere from 25 to the new moon of the dark moon, or even like the next face day 1 or 2, I really don't want to do anything. It's like I want to go dark. And it, yes, also plays into my menstrual cycle. So we're also creating an app that also tracks that. So it's laid out like this, but then we're also for women that are menstruating, because that can also play. But what's really cool is when you start to really live your life with synodic cycles, you kind of sync up with it. You know how girls that hang out together start syncing up together? I swear, it's like you start paying attention more to the lunar cycle, and your body's like, hey, I'm going to sync you up to it. So just really saying, okay, based on my energy patterns that I personally know for myself, when somebody asks me on the 21st of July, which you'll see, July 21st was that full moon, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to need to wait until, I would get then the next moon cycle is when I would look, and I would make sure not to schedule myself for anything till probably August 8th. Or something, if it is something that requires a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of commitment, collaboration, just because I know where my energy goes. And so if we can honor ourselves, not based on if it's Monday through Friday, and again, not kind of making commitments based on where we're currently feeling. Yes, it's like, if it's a yes for me, it's a yes, but then let me be a wise steward of organizing it when I know that it would be a good match for me. Now, I'm not saying that if someone invited me to something on the 3rd, right, of August, and it could really, really, really be an amazing networking experience or whatnot, that I wouldn't allow myself to really consider scheduling it. But at least I could then have the foresight of how much care and rest that I would need to have leading up to that, to give myself the most energy, really treat my body well, not having anything on the schedule for the couple days before. So it's not like the end all be all that I can never do anything on the last couple days of a moon cycle. However, I have the divine wisdom within my body's patterns because I have been a steward of listening, and it's very easy to track when you're operating with synodic cycles. And don't take my word for it. Start literally allowing yourself to check in with your personal patterns. So this cycle, I call it the expansive moon. A very common name is buck moon. So, and Native Americans, had different names based on the season that the moon was in, which I love that. And I think that this is just such an expansive moon, though, because, we just had the summer solstice. And right before the start of this cycle, for those of you that are into the celestial star systems, the Syrian Stargate portal opened on July 4th, which represents what? Sovereignty and freedom, which is what the Sirius star system is all about. We're going to kick off with that dark moon in Cancer. And every single time there's a dark moon, it will always be in the same sign that this sun is currently in. And so that's very, we'll have a beautiful exploration, intercommunion meditation that you guys can check out for that. And then the Syrian Stargate is magnified on 7/7. And really, for those of us who love to travel in consciousness, like leverage these auspicious times with your galactic family. If you're not into that, cool, no problem. Stick to the moon and the sun seasons and the lunar seasons when we're in a human body on Earth. I'm even more into really all about the moon and the season of the sun than I am astrology. I do know that astrology plays a huge role. I'm from the stars. I believe I'm a starseed. I know I'm a starseed. I know my home planet. I'm from Arcturus. But in a human body, the moon is really important, more so than me really paying attention to everything in astrology, like the face day of the moon, the illumination. Yes, we can always look at what sign she's in, but I like looking at the moon more so than other planets, right? Like a lot of people are really into what the other planets are doing. I'm a lot more into the moon, and this calendar is very simple. It's not getting like all into every single planet either. So then of course we're going to have our full moon in Capricorn, which is all about like goals and success and, just long-term, like the success of what you can really expand into, the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time. And so we'll definitely have an exploration for you to commune with your higher self with this concept of, what are you ready to expand into and to allow yourself to say yes to projects and creations. Right now, the earth, she's really in this northern hemisphere. Man, she is growing these gardens. She is getting these harvests ready for people. She is popping out some fruit, and, seeds are just really shining through their hard work that they've been growing all year, right? Since they've been planted. And it's still time to allow ourselves to see what seeds we could plant. And a lot of the northern hemisphere, July is still a great time that you could plant a seed for a harvest, right? And so we'll have an exploration on that. And then where is the sun going after that Cancer season into Leo? Good old Leo, right after that full moon. And for those of us, again, that are into the galactic world, the Mayan calendar is profound. There is a lot of wisdom in the Mayan calendar. And just for those of you who don't know about the Mayan, I believe that they're an advanced ascended civilization. And they really honored the moon, but they really looked at they had 13 months. And out of those 13 months, now they weren't synodic months, but out of those 13 months, every single day had 28 days. That's also a representation of how long it takes for the moon. The moon in space, it's 27.3 days for the moon to, in space, go from one spot and return to that same spot. Now from Earth, right, so there's where a 28-day comes from. From Earth, it's a little bit longer. It's like 29.531 days because the Earth is also traveling. And so the moon has to go further as how we're seeing it from Earth. So dark moon to dark moon from Earth, you're getting about every 29.531 days versus in space, it's the 28. So the Mayans would have 13 days every 28 days, 13 cycles. They were all 28 days. And that, if you do the math on that and multiply that, that's 364. Now, with the Earth being 365 rotation, they always had a day out of time. And so being a celestial being here on Earth at this time, I love and I invite you to consider taking a day out of time on the Mayan calendar and invoking the wisdom of the Mayans that were very in tune to nature. Now, what I found, though, is it's in order to keep it simple, following a synodic cycle, I believe, is humanity's greatest chance of returning to nature cycles versus working within, it's a very complex system the Mayans had. Now, it is a very high frequency, but it is very complex. It wouldn't start you on like Monday and Sunday. So it's like, would be really hard to kind of fit it into a standard Gregorian calendar layout, either starting on Sundays or Mondays. And so, also it doesn't make it as easy to start to identify your personal energy patterns with the moon. So for people who are just embracing the concept of living their lives with Earth cycles of light and dark and really honoring the current season that they're in, a synodic cycle calendar that's also really pointing out and making sure that the seasons through the solstices and the equinoxes, I believe is going to be the easiest way that we can come back to living in harmony with nature's cycles. And so then, of course, after the Mayan New Year, which is always on the 26th, that you could celebrate with the Mayans if you're into it, we have our Lion's Gate portal that is opening. And so just, a lot of great time. But yeah, taking that day at a time, man, of just at least take like 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes to do nothing and detach from time and see what it's like for you. And then on the 1st of August of the Gregorian date, which would be the 27th face day of the moon, we have the Lammas midpoint. And the Lammas midpoint is the midpoint between summer solstice and the autumn equinox for those of us in the northern hemisphere. And again, like the intention behind putting all of my resources and time into birthing this type of tracking system that allows one to know the Gregorian date, but to really begin to be in tune with the face day of the moon and the season that we're in, is so that we can stop the insanity of thinking things are wrong with us when we're not like flying high. So that we can completely like put to death this idea that on January 1st, that if we don't like set all these new goals and make all these resolutions and hit them, and in 2 weeks we're like deflated because oh well, I'll have to wait till next year, oh see, it's again. It's like, wait a minute, maybe my body right now is simply like in a hibernation mode. Like, what if on spring equinox I tried this same goal? Like, maybe I'm not a failure. It's like, it's time to stop the insanity of not honoring cycles of light and dark in our own life, in our own feelings, in our own bodies. Winter, summer, spring, fall, our bodies are going through it as well. And do you think that like nature, when all the trees, are changing leaves and she's not like, growing, new seeds with all these beautiful flowers, is nature like, God, what's wrong with me? Why don't I have all these flowers right now? Why am I not budding? Why am I not growing? Oh my gosh, like these leaves are all changing colors and they're falling. Or then it's like, oh my gosh, I've lost all my leaves. Now I'm just branches. Hell, all my branches are like dying and I'm dead and I just want to sleep and not do anything and not produce anything. Like, is nature, is the tree like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like you should be growing right now. It's no. And as we stop, it's like the suffering is happening in our minds because we think that there's something wrong versus being willing to accept where we are. And I'm not talking about not having honest conversations with yourself when you've been stagnant too long, or you've been denying something that it's time to do, or anything like that. I'm not talking about like having tons of excuses for, being a sloth and never doing anything, or putting your dreams on hold. I'm talking about wisdom. I'm talking about discernment. I'm talking about flow. I'm talking about allowing yourself to use maybe periods of, a shadow aspect that nature offers us to become more of a time of inwardness and regeneration for yourself. And then not thinking that something's wrong with you and I'm crazy depressed and why do I just not want to see anybody right now? Right? Because then if we get on that pattern, that can actually keep our vibration low versus feeling a really acceptance and exciting about how inward you want to be and how resting you are. And that will automatically shift the vibrational scale of attunement to where even in a shadow time of a rest time, it's still really a blissful time for you, even when you're not like at your peak high of like being in creation. And when that peak high of creation hits, and it's like people want to tell you, oh, well, you're not balanced. Like all you're doing is working all the time. You're just putting so much energy here and you're neglecting this over here. But it's like, if that's one of your like high energy times, that it's go time and you're in a season of it, you're also in a cycle of it and your body's communicating everything to you. Like you shouldn't feel freaking guilty about being go either. Right? And so I believe that is what using a calendar and a tracking system like this can do, because it's very multidimensional versus just this linear concept. It is really, it's circular. It's circular versus linear. And it's blessed me in many ways, and I know it will bless for those of you who use it. So that's what we got going on for this cycle. Be sure to follow the Sovereign Temples channel, get connected with us on our other social platforms, as we are going to be constantly putting out the new cycles. We have an app coming. I can't remember if I already said that. We have an app coming, and we have sold out of the physical ones, but right now you can download the PDF of the calendar at sovereigntemples.com. You can go get that. And then we do have the ones that you'll be able to buy for 2025 again that will be rolling out. I'm thinking on for sure one of the midpoints or equinoxes is when we'll drop that bad boy, is kind of what I'm feeling. But we are in the season right now of I'm working really, really just diligently with the team that I have that also knows Casey works in cycles. She ain't no Monday through Friday weekend kind of girl. What's the moon doing? Because then I'll know how much Casey will want us working and how unavailable she might be as well too. So, all right, guys, I hope that you have an incredible expansive moon cycle, also known as the thunder moon, the hay moon, the buck moon, along with many other names across cultures. But just remembering that you are here to be a brilliant creator and bring in just so many new creations into the world. And I believe that we do that best when we flow with cycles of light and dark and seasons. All my love and light. Namaste.